I'm really not sure there has been a third wave. I mean, in the 90s, people used the term third wave to describe those new books by Naomi Wolf, okay, The Beauty Myth and Susan Faluti's Backlash and so on, and it really seemed as if there was like a new generation. But those women faded. Okay, it's interesting how they're very powerful, okay, at the time and read all over the world. I thought both books were terribly flawed. Okay, I debated Susan Faludi on the Phil Donahue show, for an hour back when you were good shows you could appear on, and Naomi Wolf I've had like a I've loved taunting and teasing her, over the years. I've said like her parents should sue Yale University for maleducation, and so they faded. Okay, so I don't see any distinct third wave. At this point. So I have to say that we're still in second wave feminism. And the first wave feminism, was obviously began in 1848 with the Seneca Falls Convention, and then in America at least ended with as women achieved the right to vote nationally in 1920. And then feminism disappeared off the map completely. There was no, and Betty Friedan is the first, in 1966 and 67 to, in her co-founding of NOW, the women's rights organization, the first organization for women's rights since suffrage had been achieved. So I think it's the same kind of long sequence. So we're talking here about 1848 to 1920, and the same thing here. I think we're saying 1966, 67 for NOW to now, continuing now. I think we're still in second wave feminism with all, but second wave feminism, I tried to join it, okay, and I had quarrel after quarrel, okay, with those early second wave feminists, okay, because some of them were absolute fanatics, okay, like Rita Mae Brown, who later became a very famous and wealthy lesbian novelist who owns a horse farm in Virginia now, okay, and so on. But she was a radical, okay, at the time. And I went to, it was 1970, and I was a graduate student at Yale, and Kate Millett, okay, who was on the cover of Time magazine wrote the book Sexual Politics and so on, was there, and it was like a very, very, very early feminist conference, and I was talking with Rita Mae Brown, okay, and she said to me, the difference between you and me, Camille, is that you want to save the universities, and I want to burn them down. Now this is the level, okay, that we're dealing with. It was a real anarchism going on. A lot of these women were fanatics. Like Kate Millett, who was on the cover of Time for this book, Sexual Politics, had nervous breakdown after nervous breakdown, okay, and so on in her life. Okay, came from a very unstable background. And Gloria Steinem, okay, who emerged as a leader in the 1970s, mainly because she was telegenic. She had a horrendous abusive childhood, okay, what I found in example after example were women who had a neurotic, okay, kind of relationship to men and an anger, grievances that had to do with their childhood upbringing. Okay, I think that was this was my problem. Okay, it was very difficult for me to mesh with early feminists. I had arguments about. I had a huge argument. For example, remember I showed everyone the Venus of Willendorf, and there are so many of those statuettes, those mother statuettes, okay, worldwide, okay, from the Stone Age. And in the 1970s, second wave feminism was committing itself to the matriarchy hypothesis. Okay, I had a huge fights about this. They were like arguing on a completely without any scholarly basis that the existence of all those female statuettes, fertility statuettes, okay, proved that there was an early matriarchy in human history. That once, okay, the world was ruled by women. Okay, and the matriarchy was overthrown, okay, by evil men, okay, right? And that early matriarchy was peaceful. There was no war. Everyone got along. This was a complete fantasy. This matriarchy. There was book after book about this, okay. And when I was at Bennington, my first job, one of the feminists, they had to put a display in the library about the matriarchy, and I said, well, okay, now this is going too far, okay. And I made a protest. You did pamphlets at Bennington. It was great. Okay, you did pamphlets. All right. And so I pamphlet everything, and I said it's an outrage of the library is allowing itself to be used for this man. And it was like a huge war over this. Now, no one's heard about this in years. Finally, people realized this was false. There's no evidence of any kind worldwide that there has ever been a society ruled by women. Okay, the existence of these goddess statuettes has no relationship whatever to political structure in any society. Okay, so they'll say, well, what about these Amazons? We found a tribe in the Amazon jungle that's like it's like 12 people large. Okay, so it's ruled by women. Okay, I know, please. Okay, all right. But politics has traditionally been a male epiphenomenon. Okay, now I'm an equity feminist, okay, which means I demand equality of opportunity for women in the professional and political realms. However, I do not support any idea of managing outcomes in advance, okay, in the way that so many Scandinavian countries are now doing, demanding that 50% of representation, for example, in political units or on boards of governors of companies and so on, be divided equally between the sexes. I mean, I think that's kind of a social engineering that is bound to backfire in the long run.